Welcome to this retrospective showcase of the photography of Jim Lenthal. An award-winning photographer and longtime member of the Camera Club of Laguna Woods, Jim was a frequent showcase presenter. He was also a generous mentor to club members. Jim and his wife Linda were avid and adventurous world travelers. They memorialized their journeys by creating shows, always with Jim's photographs and often with Linda's videography. Jim passed away August 16, 2019. He is sorely missed. The name Bhutan translates to the land of the Thunder Dragon. It's bordered by China, India, and Nepal. It only opened to outside influences in the late 1990s. The Kingdom of Bhutan is located at the eastern end of the Himalaya Mountains, with only approximately 14,800 square miles of territory. It is roughly half the size of South Carolina. In March of 2005, Jim and Linda Lenthal visited Paro, Thimphu, and Punakha, the areas with the red arrows on the map. The Lenthals flew into the Paro International Airport, which sits in a deep valley, 7,332 feet above sea level, surrounded by mountains as high as 18,000 feet. Built for the government of Bhutan by the Indian Armed Forces in 1968, Bhutan's first airline was established in 1981. The next few images were taken in and around the city of Paro, with the Himalayas towering above. Jim enjoyed photographing scenes depicting the juxtaposition of ancient cultures and modern influences. You'll notice modern brand logos on many items worn by the people of Bhutan. This man is wearing the traditional dress of Bhutan for men, called a go, G-H-O. It was introduced in the 17th century to help create a distinctive identity for the Bhutanese people. Jim was a master of portraiture, as you'll see throughout this show. The traditional dress for women is called kira, and it's part of Bhutan's mandatory national dress code. Men wear the traditional go, knee-length, and women must wear ankle-length kira. The colors depict someone's social class and status. Buddhist monks look on as a young boy in his traditional go spins the giant prayer wheel. In Bhutan and Nepal, monks and nuns generally wear maroon robes with a red shawl over. When outside a monastery, monks cover both shoulders. Inside, they may cover only one shoulder with the shawl. Judging by Jim's images, gambling is a popular pastime. I wonder if this is a Bhutanese version of roulette. The national sport of Bhutan is archery. Paro Dzong was built around 1644 as a Buddhist monastery and fortress. Tsangs are places of worship where lamas or Buddhist monks or nuns live. Paro Tsang is the site of the second largest Seishu, or mask dance festival in Bhutan. Lama is the title for a Tibetan teacher of the Dharma. It is similar to the Sanskrit term guru. In either case, it typically references a spiritual master with authority to teach. Traditional musical instruments in Bhutan include drums, shell trumpets, cymbals, harps, bells, and seed pods. Jim's soundtrack to this presentation is representative of the music of Bhutan. Jim and Linda loved to visit and photograph festivals in countries that they visited. This is the Paro Tsang, the monastery, which will be hosting the annual multi-day Seishu festival that was the primary focus of their trip to Bhutan. Jim and Linda were fascinated by cultural and religious festivals around the world. In early days of the Mask Dance Festival, crowds begin to gather. Paro Seishu is a multi-day annual Buddhist festival dating from 1644. It's held every year in spring on variable dates determined by the Buddhist calendar. The Seishu features traditional mask dancers, trained monks and laymen in masks and costumes representing the ancient culture of Bhutan. The dances are called chams. The Seishu is the most important religious festival in Bhutan. They're held in various monasteries to honor Guru Rinpoche, who brought Tantric Buddhism to Bhutan in the 8th century. The traditional lion's roar mask dancer wears a mask featuring 4 sharp fangs and a crown of 5 skulls. This dance signifies the guru overcoming challenges from 500 non-Buddhist opponents by use of concentration, intellectual debate, and miraculous powers. Prayer wheels can be found in 3 forms. Each represents an element of life: earth, water, and fire. Spinning a prayer wheel is to purify negative karma and to help inspire profound realizations along the road to the mental liberation of suffering. The Seishu ceremony begins with clown-like jokers and dancers called atsaras. The top piece of the mask represents a phallus, a very important symbol in Bhutanese culture. The atsaras are thought to protect the people at the Seishu by warding off evil spirits that might lurk nearby. Dorje Jolo is a wrathful manifestation of Guru Rinpoche, often depicted standing upon a pregnant tigress. It is associated with the elimination of obstacles. This mask represents an angry deity with a third eye for awareness and wisdom, plus 5 skulls standing for the conversion of suffering into knowledge. The dances are grouped into 3 main categories: dramatic dances that promote morale, dances that cleanse and shield sights from harmful spirits, and dances that celebrate Buddhist victories. The dancers take on the roles of both enraged and kind-hearted deities, heroes, demons, and animals. Their movements tell stories about history and fantasy. Although comical, the Atsara characters, the ones in their red suits, are more than just clowns for entertainment. They combine the spirit of the sacred and profane, wit and wisdom, humor and responsibility. By their jokes, Atsaras help the audience forget their worries and problems. Long trumpets signal the end of a dance. Seishus provide venues for important social bonding among people of remote and spread out villages. The Lenthal saw many sites with prayer flags on a trek they took to visit rural Bhutan. When Jim and Linda visited in 2005, the life expectancy in Bhutan was 65 years. In 2020, it was 72.3 years. In 2030, it's expected to be 75 years, which will be ranked the highest in Asia. Here's Linda Lenthal on the far right on the suspension bridge and their walk off to visit a rural village. Bhutanese are forbidden to marry foreigners. Homosexuality is also forbidden by law. Polygamy is legal in Bhutan. However, the practice is not very common. Back at the Seishu, a highlight of the festival is the unfurling of the silk thangka. So large that it covers the face of an entire building, it is considered one of the most sacred blessings in the whole of Bhutan. Vajrayana Buddhism is the state religion of Bhutan and is the most widely practiced religion in Bhutan. 75% of the population practices Buddhism, 23% practice Hinduism. The Buddhist religion is supported financially by the government through annual subsidies to Buddhist monasteries, shrines, monks, and nuns. Lamas of the Red Hat sect, one of four major sects. The Red Hat sect was created in 760 AD and is the oldest sect of Tibetan Buddhism. The Red Hat sect emphasizes tantric practices, local theologies, and teaching of great perfection doctrines. Bhutan is the only country in the world to officially measure national happiness. The index is known as GNH, Gross National Happiness. Rather than placing emphasis on GDP, Bhutan attempts to track the happiness of its population. Traveling along the road from Paro to Thimphu, the second stop on the Lenthal's trip, they saw many chortens, which are monuments along the side of the road. Thimphu, the capital of Bhutan, is in a valley in the western interior. I'm always amazed by bamboo scaffolding. In this case, it appears to be 6 stories high. This is a view of Thimphu from Winding Hill Road. It's the road that the Lenthals took to get from Paro to Thimphu and from there on to Punakha. Teshichozong is a Buddhist monastery and fortress on the northern edge of the city of Thimphu. Built in the 17th century, it is both an administrative and monastic center. Traditionally the seat of the head of Bhutan's civil government, since the creation of the monarchy in 1907, administration of the civil government and the kingship have been combined in this dzong. After visiting Thimphu, the Lenthals head out to their third and final stop, which is Punakha. Common in Bhutan, they're called stupas in India. Chortens are shrines or monuments to distinguished Buddhists or lamas, usually containing sacred objects, relics, and or human remains. The area between Thimphu and Punakha has a lot of terraced rice fields. Bhutanese farmers are generally small landholders who practice subsistence farming on an average of 1.4 hectares. That's about 3 1/3 acres. Speaking of crops, in 2010, Bhutan became the first country in the world to ban the production and sale of tobacco products. Smoking in public areas is illegal. In 1916, the first king of Bhutan called tobacco the most filthy and noxious herb. Harsh fines, equivalent of over 2 months' salary, are imposed on violators. The rural population is mainly employed in agriculture, which is labor-intensive and low on farm output. About 80% of the population is involved in agriculture. Over 95% of the earning women in the country work in agriculture. Touring rural areas, Jim and Linda visited small villages and got another glimpse of subsistence living. Wangdu Phodrang Song is about 2/3 the way from Thimphu to Punakha on a winding country road. The monastery was founded in 1638 on a high ridge with a commanding view of valleys below. Here's an interesting legal tidbit. Inheritance, including land, houses, and animals, is generally passed to the eldest daughter rather than the eldest son. A man often has to move into the home of his new wife until he can earn his keep. The third major stop on Jim and Linda's Bhutan tour was Punakha. Punakha Song, at the confluence of the Pho Chu and Mo Chu rivers in the Punakha Valley, was built in 1637-38 and is the second oldest and second largest song in Bhutan. Gray robes symbolize novice monk status. These are students outside Punakha Song Monastery. Shoes are prohibited inside Buddhist monasteries. For centuries, the monasteries have provided a home and an education to thousands of Bhutan's poorest children. More than 4,000 live and study in monasteries across the country, usually sent by parents who can't afford to feed their large families or pay for the uniforms and textbooks required by government schools. Officially, the monasteries take children of 7 and older. In reality, many take children as young as 5 when they have nowhere else to go. Most of the children don't see their families for many months or even years, as many families can't afford the journey. As recently as 2013, corporal punishment was banned in the rest of Bhutan's schools, but still used widely in monastic schools. As a result of child rights workshops and a UNICEF project, basic rights of children are being recognized. The beautiful textiles in Bhutan are primarily made by women working as weavers. On their return to Paro, the Lenthals visited Paro Taktsang, the Tiger's Nest Monastery. It is believed that the 8th century Buddhist master Guru Rinpoche flew to this cliff from Tibet on the back of a tigress. He meditated there and blessed the site, and for hundreds of years after, many prominent Buddhists also meditated at the site. The temple complex itself was built hundreds of years later in 1692, allegedly by one of Guru Rinpoche's reincarnations. The Tiger's Nest is perched on a high cliff 3,000 feet above the Paro Valley, 10,240 feet above sea level. The monastery buildings are built into the rock face of the mountain, and many caves are incorporated into the complex. After a fire in 1998, the monastery was rebuilt and restored in 2005 by the King of Bhutan and the government. The Lenthals would have seen it in its newly restored state. Here's Linda, the videographer, on the trail to Tiger's Nest. The only way to visit is by hiking with an elevation gain of 3,000 feet. It takes about 3 hours each way and is approximately 5 miles round trip. The Lenthals returned to the Paro airport to head home. It's the only international airport in Bhutan.